Hi, guys, and welcome back to another edition of The Ed Word. I am your host, Eddie, and tonight I will be giving my review and recap of The Walking Dead episode 514, Spend. Before I proceed, I must warn you that this review and recap will be full of massive spoilers. So if you are not caught up on the season 5 of The Walking Dead, or if you haven't seen the most recent episode, do not watch this video. That being said, moving on, now that I've warned you about all the spoilers I'm going to spill, this was a great episode. Wow, it was a lot of fun, and it was just something else to watch, and I especially enjoyed, because I was pretty because I was pretty upset. I knew, okay, well, here's the thing. Well, for starters, I should really say that I have been a fan of The Walking Dead since the beginning. I fell in love with the show after the first season, and I just have adored it ever since. Yes, even season 2. And you know what? I understand why people didn't like it and really did not care for it, but honestly, I loved season 2. I thought it was great. I thought it was exciting, emotional. Lots of crazy shit went down, as you all know, assuming you're all caught up, of course. But it's just been a roller coaster ride ever since. It's been one thing after another, and that's what I love about this season is no restraints. If you were to ask me how to describe this season, I would say this season is holding nothing back. It's just one sucker punch after another, and I love it. I dig it. It's awesome. But moving on to tonight's episode, I was pretty disappointed that Eugene wasn't having much of a role in these last couple episodes. He didn't really talk much and he wasn't really doing anything, but I'm glad that he finally got some decent screen time centered on him. So just to give you a brief recap, this episode was about Glenn, Noah, Eugene, and 2 of the Alexandria residents, one of whom is the son of the leader of Alexandria. His name is Aiden. They go on a mission to, not on a supply run necessarily, but they go to get batteries for these battery packs that will help their power grid, which just shut down outside of the walls of Alexandria. So they're going to get the parts they need to fix it and then get it back up and running. Unfortunately, they're caught in a warehouse and they're trapped. Gunfire is opened up on the walkers inside, and one of the bullets accidentally hits a grenade which was attached to a reanimated National Guardsman. And unfortunately, the explosion separated and injured the characters. Oh, and Tara is also with them. And the son's leader, the leader's son, Aiden, whom Glenn had a little disagreement with their fists a couple episodes back, has impaled himself on a forklift. And at first they think he's dead, but it turns out he's still shockingly alive. But his buddy wants to abandon him, but Glenn and the others want to stay and try to help him and get the supplies they need, which they do get. Eugene finds it in a reasonable amount of time, but Tara has been knocked unconscious. She has taken a pretty nasty hit to the head and she's bleeding. Eugene's taking care of her and he sees an escape route. And as I'm watching this, I think to myself, oh no, what a dick, what a coward. He's going to take off, abandon the group, and abandon Tara to save himself. Fortunately, that was not the case. That is not what happened. He had Tara on his shoulder and got her out of there. So I'm like, oh, good. He has learned something about not being such a coward all the time and thinking and caring for others. So I was very happy to see that. I felt like he partially redeemed himself for that because he, up to this point, hasn't very been productive and helpful, and people are still pretty upset with him that he lied about the whole DC thing. So, but I'm glad to see him redeem himself somewhat. Then moving on, the episode also focused on Rick, Carol, and the little boy Sam, whom Carol threatened in the last episode, which was a great scene. It was so dark and messed up. But that was a great episode too. But Carol, Rick, and Sam, well, Sam already knows, but Rick and Carol come to the realization that the local surgeon, Jesse, is actually a drunk who is beating his wife. excuse me, Pete. Jesse is his wife. The surgeon Pete, who is married to Jessie, the blonde woman that Rick gave a very, very nice extended kiss on the cheek to in the previous episode, he is beating her. So Rick and Carol are trying to figure out what to do about it. Carol, being Carol, of course, has already advised and suggested to Rick to just kill him and get it over with. That's probably because she's feeling pretty compassionate and empathetic for Jessie because she knows exactly what she's going through, being a former abuse victim herself. Rick, on the other hand, was really hesitant about answering her and how to deal with this problem, even though he is now the town constable. So there's that story, and then Abraham has been assigned to the construction crew on expanding the wall. The construction site comes under attack, but thanks to Abraham's heroic efforts, he saves one of the Alexandrians, a woman named Francine, from certain death, and it inspires the other Alexandrians to fight back and wipe out the attacking herd of walkers. And the leader of the construction crew, Tobin, was originally going to run and flee and leave Francine behind, but Abraham refused to do that, so he risked his life, saved her, and then inspired the others to do the same, to keep pushing against the walkers, and eventually they wiped them all out. But Abraham was very unhappy with Alexandria's technique of abandoning people who could clearly be saved and just leaving them to die, assuming they're going to die. So he did not really care for that. But the leader of the construction crew even admitted to Deanna later when they returned to Alexandria, he had a little meeting with her saying, you know what, I like this guy. And he's a much more capable, better leader of the construction crew than I am. So, you know, he inspires, which he did. So Deanna's like, okay, I'll make the official offer to Abraham. And then, of course, the other story is that, oh, and before I forget, Daryl has a new motorcycle. Yes! So that's cool. And the episode actually opens with him and a car. We can only assume it's Aaron. Both of them drive out of Alexandria to go on their recruiting missions. So it's Daryl's first recruiting mission, and based on the promo for next week's episode, we're probably going to see him try to recruit, or if not recruit people, at least spy on them and watch them from afar to see if they're trustworthy or not. So, moving on, back to the warehouse, Glenn and the others are trapped, but Glenn, Noah, and Nicholas, one of the guys from Alexandria, realize that Aiden, the other guy from Alexandria, is beyond saving, and so unfortunately they are forced to leave him behind to be eaten to death by walkers while impaled on a forklift. Ugh, that was nasty and a horrible, horrible way to go. But Glenn clearly felt bad about it, but he also realized there was nothing they could do to help him. They get trapped in these I think they're called revolving doors or circling doors, and Nicholas, the guy from Alexandria, actually gets out, manages to slip through the cracks, and abandons Noah and Glenn while they are swarmed by a herd of walkers with no chance and no hope of escape. And unfortunately, when Nicholas selfishly abandons the others and he runs off, it allows the walkers to get a good grip on poor Noah. And this is where it gets really sad. Noah is pulled away out of Glenn's grasp and into a horde of walkers, and he's pushed up against the glass like this, and poor Glenn is watching there helpless, and you can just see the look on his face. His heart is breaking, and it's just horrific to watch, and poor Noah is eaten alive right in front of him. He's ripped apart. One shot had a walker biting or peeling off this side of his jaw, and his mouth was exposed while he was screaming. Ugh, it was awful. Great special effects. I'm not saying the special effects were bad. They were great. It was just really, really nasty and really heartbreaking because Noah was a good guy. He was a nice guy. So that was tough. So Glenn is still trapped, but before Noah is killed, the walkers are actually drawn away. I should have said this earlier, sorry. Before Noah is killed, they notice that Eugene is in the van that they arrived in, and he's honking and trying to lead the walkers away, and it works for the walkers that are on the